It begins with the iconic Land Rush start. Sweeping turns, big airs, and the backstretch. Carnage and the rivalries. It's where heroes are born and legends are made. For 50 years, racers from both coasts have come here to America's heartland to prove that they are the best of the best in front of over 50,000 die-hard fans. This is the Crandon International Off-Road Raceway. Welcome to the Big House. Welcome to the 2019 Red Bull Crandon World Cup.
Welcome to the final day of racing of the 50th anniversary celebration of racing at the Big House. This is Crandon International Raceway. It is the Red Bull World Cup. Jason Wygant joined by multi-time off-road racing champion, including last year's Baja 1000, Cameron Steele. We're going to be joined by a huge pack of fans who are rabid for this type of short course off-road racing, and of course, the best drivers from around the world. We're going to start our racing here today on Sunday morning with our Pro two-wheel drive division. And it's a who's who when you come to Crandon, the best of the East, the best of the West, all meeting together.
Absolutely, and the excitement is high, a fever pitch amongst the fans. Of course, the drivers are right there, the big smiles, the energy all through the drivers meeting this morning. Totally, I mean, just incredible all the way around. We're talking about Pro 2s. There's two different groups. There's going to be a front line, which is going to be a slightly less horsepower. It's a newer development in the rules. They're going to start before the higher horsepower in the back, which would include Jarrett Brooks, Brian Deegan, and some of the players you're seeing now on your driver list. One day ago, Keegan Kincaid, in the final points paying race of the year here at Crandon, laid it down. He had first pick, a win for him. He's been here 29 years consecutively. Of course, that's when he was born.
Yes.
He's never missed a race.
Yeah, he is the local product, so Kincaid a favorite. There's Cowboy, who always inspects the starting grid. Just about a minute to go before we get underway in our Pro two-wheel drive division. And this Land Rush start is unique to Crandon, kind of a trademark element. So that's going to make it exciting right off the rip. And we did see some carnage yesterday with these starts.
We did, absolutely. And the Land Rush, I mean, you know that you're going to get the best start, right, if you're a driver. But everybody out there thinks the exact same thing. And look how loaded this field is. I mean, we're talking about a huge number of big horsepower vehicles getting up to around 100 miles an hour, depending on the start straight conditions, how loose it is or how much water is out there. But then they're making a banking right-hand turn, which is slightly off camber and very scary to watch, but it is amazing to see these drivers get through it.
Some of the favorites, the 15 Airs, Andrew Carlson battled for a podium yesterday. That black truck, though, on the pole position is yesterday's winner, Keegan Kincaid. Yesterday, as you said, final points paying event of the year, but today it is a one-race, non-championship point scenario. If you win, you are the world champion in your class, and we're about to crown it right here. Through the gears they go, approaching triple-digit speeds, and it looks like it's Winner going to lead them in with Andrew Carlson on his door on the inside, but Winner is going to lead them into turn two. And we're on board the second place driver, that is Carlson. Trying to move to the inside and take the lead, it's door to door. Andrew Carlson roughs up Winner. Winner runs into yesterday's winner, Kincaid. Chad Horde of the number 9 gets slammed, and we already have the carnage as we expected.
Wow. Unfortunate, and they're tangled up. We'll see if they can get restarted or if the caution is going to come out. Andrew Carlson holding that position right now. He has some fiberglass damage, and he has a flat tire, which is, no chance of winning with the flat. Going to have to come into the hot pit, and we'll see what happens here. They are still racing. No yellow flag is out.
Wow, yes, yellow isn't out, so bad luck. That is Keegan Kincaid, yesterday's winner and the local product. The fan favorite here at Crandon, he has had problems, and his race could be over. We will see if he can get it restarted. Also saw Chad Horde, one of the favorites here as well in the back, and we knew this would happen. The field is larger today, and the intensity has gone up. So the first lap, it was wild. It looks like the leader with the flat tire has had problems, Carlson. So moving around everybody, is this Jarrett Brooks from row 2 all the way into the lead?
That's exactly what happened, but we're getting all yellows,
Yes.
so everybody is shutting it down. And Carlson, you can see going across trying to get a new tire.
He's headed to the hot pit. Same thing with Winter.
Winter
Yes.
going that way as well, so we'll see what's going to happen. We'll wait for the official's word.
The yellow truck is climbing in the 42. That Maxxis black truck number 2, that is the 7-time Supercross champion Jeremy McGrath. They're all battling up front. So somehow with all that carnage, row 2, even though they started with a deficit on the line, Jarrett Brooks was able to move through everyone, although half of them had damaged trucks and flat tires in one lap. So now we'll see how quickly they can repair these machines for a restart. So we're on board with Andrew Carlson, who's waiting, I'm sure, impatiently to get that tire fixed.
And we'll run through the information and damage to the vehicles as we come to find them. Of course, you can see 2 vehicles being worked on right now. Winter there in front and Carlson directly behind. It looked like there might have been some more severe damage to a couple of vehicles. We'll see how they cleared the track and how the restart will actually act as Carlson is called out of the pit by his crew. He'll go back to staging to get ready. And land rush start, now it's one thing getting into that first turn, but remember they start to try to set up going into turn 2, so they got to find their positioning. And of course everybody wants to find that position just ahead of the truck that they're filing in next to, right? So a little bit of contact is bound to happen. Also, remember this, there's no sighting lap here, so they don't get to see how wet the course is before they go out onto the track.
Let's send it to Kate Osborne with an update on the number 15. Kate?
Anything on Jarrett? Want me to go, Jarrett? Right now, Andrew Carlson just left the hot pit of obviously not the way that he wanted to start this day. From what we understand, it's a right rear flat, and we'll see how this shakes out for him throughout the rest of the race.
Thanks, Kate. So Carlson is headed back to the line and out of that hot pit, so good job by the crew to get that tire changed. You can't really fault Carlson. He saw the opening to try to take the lead from Winter, and it cost them both dearly. And then when Winter got spun, he tagged some of the other favorites like Kincaid and Chad Horde, and now it's just simply a matter of how quickly they can repair these machines. Let's send it back to Kate.
Another update from Jeff Kincaid on Keegan Kincaid, and that is the fact that he has a front flat tire. So we'll see how this shakes down for the local favorite, knowing that this was his day for fun.
Okay, thank you, Kate. And there's so much action out here. We need 2 reporters on trackside. So let's now introduce Tina Dixon with more. Tina?
Yeah, exactly, Jason. With so many restarts that happen here in the Pro 2s. You know, Keegan Kincaid, actually, they did 2 restarts yesterday in the Pro 2, and one of them was the redo of that land rush start, and Keegan Kincaid got the whole shot on both of them. So he's proven that he is fast off of that line. In fact, he said he wasn't fast in the qualifier, so they went back and made the necessary adjustments. I talked to him, he said, we will continue to make the adjustments necessary until we finish and win that championship. And at this point, we'll just have to wait and see. Jason.
Thank you, Tina. Yes, there's multiple races today. We will, on our 10 a.m. show here local time, we'll have our Pro 2-wheel drive class right now. We'll follow that up with the Pro 4-wheel drive machines.
Crowning the world champions.
In each class, correct. But later this afternoon, then we will put all the trucks on the track together. We'll give the 2-wheel drive machines a head start because they're a little bit slower, and they'll all go head-to-head to be crowned ultimately the Crandon World Cup champion with all the trucks on the track at the same time. But throughout the day, this track is going to change a lot. So those adjustments that Tina was talking about, these teams have to stay on top of it. And they're working on that machine feverishly right now. Let's get through some of the replays of all this action early on. This is Carlson and Winter coming together.
And you can see how that rotates Winter, and then here comes Kincaid, nowhere to go. Horde also already committed to that section, so that's the truck I think that has the broken part, is the number 9 Yokohama truck. There, the red and gray, the front right does not look right. We'll see if he's able to get fixed and get back in. You can see there, of course, Keegan Kincaid in the black number 4 with the flat right front tire, but really nowhere to go for some of those drivers. There's no real option. They're coming over a blind rise, drifting, going as fast as they can, and then, oh wow, there's a truck sideways in front of me.
And tough breaks here for Chad Horde, who was the fastest qualifier of the 2-wheel drive trucks yesterday and was battling for the lead in the race yesterday when he ran into mechanical problems there. Now he's running into problems on the first lap today, so Horde, one of the favorites. It just shows you in off-road racing so much is just luck and how things out of your control can affect your result.
Absolutely, and one of those things is, you know, as a driver, you got to try to understand the propensities of everybody around you and kind of try to be able to feel what's going to happen. You also have a spotter that's watching from somewhere else on the track up high via radio, able to tell you what's going on. But when it happens so quickly coming over a blind rise, there's just really nothing you can do. And there's a look at the spotter. So these are the spotter crews. They're all on radio. You cannot go on the track in your race truck if you don't have a spotter in the spotter stand. So that's a rule here at Crandon, and you got to have someone watching out for what's going on the track. And while we have a second, let's talk a little bit about the differences between the motor packages.
Yeah, because there are 2 lines on the start, so there's 2 specs in these trucks. Explain that in depth.
So basically the rules have been evolving. They're going to go away from the race engine by 2021 completely, and they're going to go, it's still a race engine, but it's 7,500 rev chip, and it's a 410 cast iron block, more or less. So you have some choices of things you can do there, but right now the difference is about 200 horsepower, more or less, from what we would consider the smaller race engine to the unlimited race engine.
Watching Kyle Kleiman there, already banged up quite a bit, ready for a Land Rush restart. We had a chance to talk to him about this Land Rush start.
Going into that Land Rush start is it's something that you can't really explain to somebody. You know, you have the butterflies, yeah, but you're 24 trucks, 25 trucks wide. You're going almost 100 miles an hour into a corner, and you have no idea what's going to happen. You could plan for something, it probably isn't going to happen the way you're planning it. So to be able to come into a corner like that and not know what's going on, I think that just brings out a total thrill, and that's what makes this place so historic.
And both the Kleiman brothers will be racing today in different divisions. Yes, what makes the Land Rush start crazy is not only the carnage, but also that it's unique. This is the only short course off-road race of this scale, at least, that has a start like this.
Right, and we talk about it. It's slightly staggered from what would be your left, looking at the picture. That truck's slightly forward versus the trucks all the way at the end are slightly back, so they're not exactly on a straight line, but it's very close. And they're racing into a right-hand drop away off camber turn that has undulations, jumps going into it, and of course some looser areas, some more wet areas. So there's a lot of unknowns as you race into that. And you don't get to practice the Land Rush start. You get to practice having a start, but they don't send everybody out there and practice to try them. So there's not a lot of opportunity to try to hone in on your skills there.
Let's check in with the local boy, Keegan Kincaid, from right here in Crandon, and get his thoughts on the Land Rush start.
Land Rush, that's something that it's hard to explain, but the nerves beforehand, and once that green flag drops, it just all out the window and we go head down. But it's different once you get 26, 27, 30 trucks lined up on that start line. Nerves start to go. That's when accidents happen. That's when big crashes happen. And luckily and hopefully that doesn't happen here, but hopefully we can get a hole shot, get out, run away, and hide. That's our goal. So.
Well, 50% of the time he's done that. Yesterday he got away clean. He went on to win the Saturday race. But for the World Championship in the division today, it did not go that direction. Kincaid had the good spot on the inside, but he was edged out. It's about third going into turn 2, and then all the drama began. But they have the machine fixed. He's back on the grid, and Cowboy inspecting the line. Looks like we're about to go racing again. The difference is Kincaid is now all the way on the outside as opposed to the inside, because they did revert back to how it had gone, at least with the limited racing that we had. So he's going to have to try to make up some ground around the outside. Let's see what the number 4 can do from there. That is, again, yesterday's winner, and certainly someone familiar with this track. Although we did like to remind us that even though he's from Crandon, it doesn't mean that he comes out here and drives on this track all the time. He said it's kind of a misnomer. Everyone thinks that I've done thousands and thousands of laps. A lot of it is really based on how much budget and time you have to test these machines.
And if you go into the hot pit, I believe you get last pick, so that's why you'll see Carlson and Kincaid towards the outside. A couple of trucks missing in the lineup, and I do not see Chad Hort, so maybe the damage was too much for him to come back. We'll take a look as we get set to go green flag racing once again. Here comes the Land Rush.
Kincaid around the outside gets a good jump, but he's got a long way to go, and that black truck, I think he's going to get edged out, but Carlson looking good from the outside. Jeremy McGrath, master of hole shots in Supercross, is out front here on the restart of Pro 2. So the king of Supercross, who definitely knows how to wheel a short course off-road truck, in the lead in the number 2. And now row 2 takes off. Is it Jarrett Brooks leading that group again? Yes, it is. He's got Brian Deegan, Rob McCachran, and LeDuc right there with him.
Nice jump, McGrath out front. Carlson has moved to second, the 23, John Schaefer, running in that third position. Watch how McGrath sets up. Remember, they've got one look at the track now going around on that first lap, but it is slippery. See McGrath drifting out. They're trying to be cautious not to throw it too hard into the turn, break too much traction where it will bring it around or spin it out. You can see the wet spots on the track, and as the track starts to come in, they'll be able to have more confidence. But right now, they're looking around to make sure where they have the best traction.
Schaefer, Kleiman, and Kincaid having a great battle for third, fourth, and fifth. Kleiman in the center. Oh, a mistake by Schaefer. Kleiman able to get by him. Let's see if Kincaid can squeeze by as well. They're door to door.
Keegan's got the run. He's going to also have that position on the inside if he wants it here. And look at this, the shift by Schaefer looking to go maybe back underneath. We're talking about the black and then the multicolored truck there. And it looks like the 4 of Kincaid has that position now locked, running forward. You see the wet spot in the middle there. Of course, that's going to break a little bit more traction than the drier spots in some cases. And then the really dry spots, you'll also break traction as they go back through turn 1.
Two different races to watch. What you see up front, McGrath leading Carlson and Kleiman. 1, 2, 3 from row 1, but row 2 with Brooks, Deegan, McCachran, and LeDuc. 4 of the biggest names in off-road racing. They're trying to work their way through traffic, and we've already seen the difference. When a leader like McGrath is able to run his own laps clean out front, it's a lot harder for row 2 to catch up. When we had Carnage off the first start, Brooks had already passed everybody. So the race is going to play out differently depending on how these drivers battle each other.
And interesting, the points championship in the Midwest came down to Keegan Kincaid leading Kleinman. They're right next to each other now, battling for the position. But here comes Jarrett Brooks, the number 77. That's the slightly higher horsepower, a couple hundred different horsepower there vehicle, so he will have an advantage in some cases, but in other cases he might break traction more often.
Great battling here. Schaefer trying to hold off Penico, who was involved in about half a dozen. Oh, on the number 3.
Kincaid is around.
Oh, Kincaid is spun. That's why Penico had to jackknife into that corner to avoid him. So it has not gone the direction of Keegan Kincaid, the local product today, after winning the race yesterday. McGrath continues to lead. Carlson, Kleiman, but Jarrett Brooks has caught the lead trio, and he has the high horsepower truck.
We'll see how this plays out as we drive down. This is coming off what is the front straight into 1. Look at the drifting, the drop away. Such a beautiful place to go racing. Crandon is amazing. The fans love it. Look at this, Brooks coming down the inside of Kleiman. He's going to make that run coming down that side. Then he's going to hold the inside drift a little bit wide, shooting all kinds of roost all over Kleinman. Now he's going to set his sights on Andrew Carlson in the Polaris RZR number 15. That is the tan and black truck there, you see.
So Brooks about 200 more horsepower trying to run these trucks down. Yesterday he ran out of time. He never got close. Today he's already in, and he's way down low here in the final corner. Crossover move, and a nice job by Carlson to get back in front of him.
And Brooks tried to do the classic slide job and stop in front of him to break his momentum, but Brooks slid a little further past, and Carlson was able to keep the run going, but Brooks does make that pass stick, and there's Carlson and Kleinman now will be battling just behind him.
So Brooks has moved past everyone but the leader. Let's send it to Kate with an update on the 77.
Despite the difference in the specs in these trucks, there's been 1/10 of a difference in some of these lap times between the Midwest and the West Coast trucks. Jarrett Brooks, after last night's event, decided that he wanted to make a few changes to make sure that he was beating these local guys. They grooved the tires, the DOT tires, a little bit differently and changed the suspension. Obviously, right now, it's working out for Jarrett Brooks to make sure that he's getting around these Midwest trucks.
Yeah, the huge horsepower everyone assumed would give them a huge advantage on speed, but yesterday they did not make up that much ground. Today, Brooks has quickly passed all but one truck. But you said sometimes the horsepower doesn't work in your favor as much as on paper you would assume it would.
True, sometimes it can make you break traction in areas you're not prepared for it too, and we see Kincaid racing back forward.
Yeah, he's trying to get around Schaefer, but you also have McCachran in that yellow number 21, the black and yellow. He's down to the inside. He's one of the trucks from row 2. Can Rob Max stick it down to the inside? Well, he picked off a couple of trucks there, but not able to get around Kincaid. McCachran again with the big horsepower, working his way through traffic.
Great slide underneath by McCachran. Here comes Todd LeDuc, the orange and black, the K&N sponsor number 24. He's filling in for Bradley Morris, and those are the 2 of the high horsepower trucks as they come through the field. They're going to be trying to battle through Keegan Kincaid, who's had a bit of a more misfortunate day today versus one ago, where he really led wire to wire, looked great and he has been putting down some great laps. We'll get you some lap times here shortly, but Kincaid on point. We'll see if he has enough to try to catch back forward to the group leading this right now, which is, of course, McGrath, Brooks, and Carlson.
Yeah, there's Kincaid in the 4, then Rob Mack, one of the living legends, and an amazing run by LeDuc, who has not raced short course off-road in a couple of years. He only came here to hang out, really, with his family. His brother will be competing in the 4-wheel drive division, but Bradley Morris couldn't race. He brought his suit, and he's going racing. Now he's actually a full-time monster truck driver. Spectacular what he can do in those, but I can't believe in that orange machine how quickly he's gotten back up to speed in short course.
2 of 3 championships over the last 3 years for Todd LeDuc, and the last time he won here was a decade ago in this World Championship round in the Pro 2.
On board with Keegan Kincaid, who's trying to hold off the 2 high horsepower machines behind him, which would be Brooks and LeDuc. He's in the number 4. Now you see outside the truck, McGrath's trying to hang in there with Brooks up front. So we'll keep watching this battle.
Kincaid with McCachran and LeDuc behind him. And super impressed by Kincaid's style of driving and style in the pits. The big smile, kids hanging out, lots of fun. His dad's there, of course, his dad a legend. And now we're jumping back to the front.
I think we've had the change. Yes, Brooks has passed McGrath. So this time, the faster trucks, despite the time differential at the start, have made up the ground. Jarrett Brooks, who has been dominant, I think we could say dominant, yes. Certainly very successful in the West Coast Short Course Off-Road Series, showing he can live up to the hype here in Crandon. He's pulling away now from McGrath and the rest of the field.
Yes, Jarrett Brooks on the West Coast with 3 wins this year. And he has just been stellar since he's been racing. Everything he's driven, he has looked spot on. There's a good look at the number 77 going by into the turn number 3. He's right up on that cushion. What the cushion is that's where the roost sits, or the little bit of the lighter dirt. So the drivers like to sit that outside tire right on that edge. It's a bit of a berm, a bit of a spot to drive off of.
So Brooks just going to try to stay clean and click off laps now that he's gone all the way to the front, despite starting on lap 2. McGrath, a great job in second. Now McGrath used to have the big race engine in his truck. He actually decided to switch to the spec engine with less power to start in the front row. And we were talking to his crew yesterday, and McGrath himself saying kind of likes the lower horsepower, works for his smooth driving style.
He says the trackability is really good, and that's something we're talking about. Just because you have more horsepower doesn't mean you can track any better than the truck with slightly less horsepower.
So McGrath staying clean, leading his group, would be second overall, but he's going to have to hope that Brooks has a problem, because there's no way he's going to be able to catch him with less power. Andrew Carlson, he has persevered. He's been in battles. They had to fix the tire after the first start, but he's hanging tough right now in third. He's got Kleiman in the yellow machine right behind him in fourth. So we'll follow this race. Caution out right now. And we were told they would not have the mandatory caution in this race. They would not. So, and it is not a mandatory caution. It is a caution flag due to a problem. Was that Schaefer? Yes, it is. Upside down. Well, that's going to tighten everything back up. Hope Schaefer's okay here. Safety crew getting to him quickly. But he has been rolled onto his side, and that truck is absolutely shredded. Not just from this incident, but some of the action from earlier in the race.
And you can see the Crandon safety crew working with him right on point, immediately there. And good news seeing him crawl out of the truck. Of course, some of you may see the fiberglass bodies and like, oh, it's come apart. You can see there's a safety cover over the driver. There's a steel plate over the driver where it's upside down. If the fiberglass disappears, it's not a big deal. This is an all-tube chassis, custom-built vehicle. The fiberglass is just for sponsors, for looks. And so he's lost his roof, lost some of the panels, not a big deal.
Okay, good to see him climb out of the vehicle. Schaefer's okay. As far as the truck, they're certainly going to have a lot of work to do. Ooh, a little flame there.
Little flame on top, and they'll have the crew come over. A little bit of
there we go.
Right on it.
Is that a common situation when a truck's on its side like that?
It is. Sometimes when they're upside down, a little bit of fuel comes out of the system, and it's not uncommon. Many of the vehicles moving towards fuel injection to try to eliminate carburetors from having fuel there. And he's saying, come on, it's still got a little bit going on here, so they'll get back on it with the fire extinguishers. Not a lot of panic going on there.
He just doesn't want the damage to the truck to get any worse. And that is another factor. As we said, we're going to race this morning to crown championships in the individual classes, but the best of the best will face off later this afternoon, and you know there's going to be a lot of wrenching going on to fix all this damage to try to come back and race later this afternoon. It's going to be tough on the crews.
Absolutely, and it's a short window to get the trucks fixed. I mean, they'll be back racing around 4 or so. They'll come out for introductions local time, so that's not a huge amount of time to go through the vehicle, and there's a good look at Jarrett Brooks.
Brooks's machine has been twisted up as well, but it's all cosmetic. His crew is certainly happy with the Rigid Industries machine, able to work his way from the back to the front and leading right now. Clearly, they're giving the driver, Jarrett Brooks, some advice at the moment. And we will send it down to Tina.
Yeah, guys, and I talked to the leader right now, currently that number 77, Jarrett Brooks. You know, he started off in that second row, finished third in yesterday's Pro 2, and he said that he was, you know, a little bit bummed at the gap. He felt like it was too big and didn't have enough time on the track to catch those leaders. He does have that extra horsepower, but right now, guys, Jarrett Brooks, that number 77, looking very fast out there.
And Tina, that's a great report because we're talking about the split lane or split groups and how much time are they going to delineate. Now, again, in the Cup race later today, they're going to have to decide that again. In this particular situation, it almost looks like they gave them too tight a gap yesterday, too much of a gap. So they're still trying to figure out what will be perfect for later this afternoon.
Yeah, and during that drivers' meeting, everyone had an opinion. Certainly the ones in the back row wanted to start closer, and the ones in the front row wanted a larger gap, but they say it's tough with the track conditions changing all the time. It's hard to know how the lap times are going to compare. Let's get more from one of the drivers from the front row. Kate has a report. Kate?
Talking about this track changing, and actually Jeremy McGrath just said that it's coming together really well, and there's a lot of traction. He says he is figuring out this track lap by lap, and he's going to try and hang with Jarrett Brooks, but he does know Jarrett does have a faster truck. We'll see how it plays out here, Jason.
Thank you. And McGrath doesn't race full-time short course off-road any longer, but he absolutely had Crandon, especially for the 50th, on his list. So they've been working all year specifically around this race, and that's cool. If you're Jeremy McGrath and you're the all-time king of Supercross, you don't have to do anything. You could just full-on retire and sit on the couch and watch TV all day. And he's from Southern California. So for him to make the commitment and say, no, I'm going to Wisconsin, I'm bringing my truck, I'm bringing my best, and I'm going to try to win this, says how prestigious this event is.
Absolutely, and having MC here is great. Just a smile on his face, and, you know, one of the most humble champions you will ever meet. Just a regular everyman, so to speak. He talks to everybody in the pits. He's just always really, I mean, just such a nice guy. It's great to see him out here. And it was great to see the smile and the laughter and talking about dirt bikes and, you know, no pressure. He just doesn't seem like there's any pressure on him at all. And he gets out on the track and he's on it.
Yeah, absolutely. He was very calculated to make it through the carnage and lead his group, but eventually Brooks from row 2 was able to get him. So on the restart, McGrath will be second, Andrew Carlson in the number 15 third, and the 42 of Kleiman will be fourth. And somehow, some way, Keegan Kincaid has been able to survive several smash-ups, and it looks like he'll be seated fifth with the restart once we get that flipped truck from Schaefer off the track. So as we wait for the restart, we will bring you into our booth. Jason Wygant, Cameron Steele here, and it's pretty cool. There's hollowed ground out on the racetrack, but not too shabby in here. This is a very famous barn. There's a VIP area, kind of the who's who of off-road racing get to mill around underneath us. This is a really cool spectator area, and what I like, I'm just fascinated. I have to watch the camera, but I like looking at the memorabilia we have from the original Brush Run 101, which was the forerunner of this event. And the history of this event is actually not in short course off-road racing. They were inspired by the old Baja 1000 in the early days in the late 1960s to have a similar race on this type of terrain, which is in trees and woods.
Right. They built a loop that went out through the woods and the trails and the rocks, and they came up with a lap that was more or less just over 25 miles. They ran it 4 times for 101 miles. Yeah. Hence the Brush Run 101. A very cool history. If you look at some of the photos and some of the terrain they went through and the vehicles they did it with, I mean, it's similar to what happened through the Baja 1000, the evolution of the vehicles. I mean, if you just went back those, 50 years ago and look at it and then look at what they started doing 20 years post and now what they're doing, it's shocking, but at the same time, that's what evolution is all about. And that's where manufacturers or or tire developers or anybody gets a chance to try to build something different because it's in an unlimited forum, so to speak.
Yeah, and so the track, the evolution is part of it, and so is the scale and scope of this event. Well over 50,000 spectators expected this weekend here at Crandon. This has always been a big event, but every person we have talked to this weekend says, man, I've never seen it quite like this. Because of the 50th anniversary, the fans have shown up in mass.
Just for reference, the grandstands have about 4,100 seats that are sold out. So you can imagine how many people are on the grass and on the hill there. And it is staggering when you're walking through the pits. The smiles and the high fives are awesome, but man, the fans are focused on understanding what driver they love. They're wearing the sweatshirts, the T-shirts, the jackets of their favorite drivers. I mean, it is such like an informed crowd. It's really awesome. Not just people coming out to see high horsepower. Yes, there are some of those as well, but man, everybody is switched on to what's happening.
It appears race control is going to run a green, white checkered, and we're going to cap this at 7 laps due to all the carnage. They're going to take some time out of this race, and we are just about ready to go with the rolling restart. I believe this is going to happen right now as they hit this arch where it says Crandon World Cup, and here we go. Jarrett Brooks, Jeremy McGrath, Andrew Carlson lead them to green. Carlson looking to make a move on McGrath for the number 2 spot.
Looking on that inside.
MC able to hold him off in the number 2. Carlson getting to give it another look. This is the gravel pit. Keegan Kincaid
going
way down low.
Trying to look to the bottom. McCachran down at the bottom. Also, he has the higher horsepower truck. That is the number 21. But we're talking about Kincaid. Look at him here. He's 3rd in line. There's McGrath, Carlson, Kincaid. Look at him go way to the outside, looking to drop back to the bottom maybe, but there wasn't room to drive underneath.
Look at LeDuc, the orange number 24, but he and Kleiman come together. LeDuc had just made the move on Rob McCachran, who is the fellow driver with the big horsepower machine, but it all goes undone. Spins with Kleiman, more carnage here at Crandon. Meanwhile, Kincaid running into the back of Carlson in a battle for 3rd, and he takes it.
Carlson looking at a little bit of a different line, threw it in, and then Keegan Kincaid was right there. I thought it was a great job by Kincaid to not really get into the back of him. He checked up, but he does get that position. So Brooks, McGrath, Kincaid. Can Kincaid make a run in the lower horsepower truck to try to stay with Jarrett Brooks? And what McGrath spotter was saying that we got in that report is that the track is coming to them. There's more traction. The trackability is good for their trucks, for that lower horsepower truck.
McGrath now is going to have to deal with pressure from Keegan Kincaid, the Crandon native, 29 years old. He said he's been in this race for 29 years, and he's got a pair of twins, 8 months old, watching the race, looking to follow in his footsteps. And by the way, he is a 2nd-generation driver. His dad, Jeff, one of the best ever slinging around here. So Keegan Kincaid definitely knows Crandon well, and he's trying to take Jeremy McGrath down to move into 2nd.
And his dad's saying, we're getting from a report right now, that the truck is spot on, even though they've had all the chaos and damage and issue. He says the truck is perfect right now, is what Keegan's telling him.
White flag is out. This is going to be it. Jarrett Brooks trying to hold on up front with a little bit of a gap. Who's going to win this battle for 2nd? You have the king of Supercross, an icon, Jeremy McGrath. Certainly knows how to drive a short course off-road truck as well. But then the local product, Keegan Kincaid. Nice line by Kincaid on the outside. I thought he had it.
He had a nice bit of momentum pulled there, but McGrath had the acceleration from the bottom, and now they're coming into the back straight. They're going to rotate here and get back onto that front straight and head right down in front of the crowd in turn 1. And look at this, different lines. McGrath going to the left, Kincaid looking for traction to the right, and it looks like McGrath has the advantage there. He's got about 2 truck lanes. He should be able to race the track he wants to race, but let's watch and see if Kincaid tries to find a way to slingshot up behind McGrath here.
A lot on the line. By the way, your choice of start position will be based on results from this race in our World Cup race later today. So they want to make every position up they can, and racers are racers. If someone's in front, you want to make the pass. Jarrett Brooks looks to have it. Here's Kincaid, the dive bomb down to the inside. McGrath's going to try to beat him off the corner from the outside. It's a drag race door to door into the last turn for 2nd.
McGrath will control the bottom. Kincaid looking to run the momentum on the outside, and it looks like McGrath is going to be able to get him by nose. Let's see what happens. No, it's Kincaid!
Woo! Jarrett Brooks takes the win, and Kincaid in the last turn is able to make the move on McGrath. What a wild race it was for those two. Really taking it down literally to the last turn.
Great sportsmanship right there. You see the thumbs up coming up. from Kincaid to Brooks.
And McGrath pulling up right next to him as well. The drivers gathering in front of those packed grandstands. We'll have a chance to talk to them in a moment. Great racing right down to the checkered flag. And I got to say that Brooks was able to make up a whole bunch of ground early in the 77, but we did see that once he got out front, he did not pull a gigantic lead. These trucks were fairly equally matched, despite the difference in engine spec. Here is the move, right here, the last turn, Kincaid and McGrath.
I think originally Kincaid might have been looking to try to go out in, but then he held that outside line with the momentum. McGrath down on the bottom more, starts drifting wide. I don't think they made contact, but just watch that momentum from that outside line along the edge of the cushion. Kincaid's able to outrun him to the checker, and he takes the spot. Second place for Kincaid, third for the Supercross champion, Jeremy McGrath.
That's one of the great things about off-road racing. I love the varied backgrounds of these drivers when you get one of the all-time greats on dirt bikes from California and then a local product, multi-generation star of short course off-road racing, and they go through the finish line almost side by side, so equally matched. Meanwhile, Jarrett Brooks is happy. He will be your world champion in two-wheel drive for 2019 here at the Crandon World Cup. The 77 could not make up the big differential off the start yesterday, but he got the job done with room to spare here on Sunday, and he's going to go in the record books. He'll never be able to take that one away. Looks like we're ready to talk to our race winner, and we will send it to Tina Dixon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Jarrett, you told me yesterday you were a little bit bummed on the differential, maybe didn't have enough track time to make up that gap. Did that give you some extra motivation coming into today's race because you were fast?
Yeah, for sure. The track dried out really bad yesterday, and we really couldn't catch the 410s. And today, man, this track is so hooked up, and my truck was insanely hooked up. The first restart, or the first start, I actually got to first, passed all the trucks, got to first, and it was a full restart. So I'm like, all right, got to try to do this again, and almost did it again. I got to like fourth, and then got to McGrath, and McGrath was actually really fast. He was hard to pass for being a 410, a smaller motor. It was hard to pass him, but man, I'm so pumped. I've actually never won here in Crandon, especially racing a Pro 2. It's always been my dream to race Pro 2 here, and to win with a Pro 2, man, this is awesome. I'm just so pumped to be here. So big thanks to Rigid Industries, General Tire, Bill Stein KMC, my family, my crew making the trek out here, and this is awesome, man.
And it is a special win, the 50th anniversary out here. Congratulations, Jarrett Brooks.
Thank you guys very much.
Jason.
Thanks, Tina. Yeah, we talked to him yesterday. Although the four-wheel drive trucks are considered the fastest, Jarrett Brooks said he's more of a two-wheel drive guy. This was the class he's always dreamed of racing in, and now to win it, certainly special. Kincaid outduels McGrath. You can see it was less than a second between them. Rob Mack was able to work his way from row 2 to finish up in 4th ahead of Carlson, Pennico, Kornitzer, Kleiman, Conrad, and Peterson round out the top 10 of Pro 2. We'll see these drivers back later this afternoon for the Red Bull Cup at Crandon, where we'll put two-wheel drive up against four-wheel drive on the same racetrack. So that are your results. As the fans get ready, we'll have our four-wheel drive race coming up in just a couple of moments. So everybody changing their viewpoint and getting ready for what should be more great racing action. And that was pretty spectacular and fairly evenly matched, the two engine specs. That was pretty fun to watch. And now we'll talk to two of the drivers who did have the smaller engines but definitely held their own. Let's send it back to Tina.
Yeah, you said it, Jason. It was a fun race to watch. And Keegan, it was a battle out there. You had some trouble there at the beginning. Walk us through, but especially that finish. You made it happen.
Yeah, you know, that was just crazy. I don't even know where to start from that race, but they watered the track. It was pretty slick, and a couple guys got together, and we were just unfortunate and got into them. Gave us a right front flat. Maybe did a little more damage, but it was just head down from here. Like, there's no holds bar here, and Jarrett got in lead right away. I think maybe they gave him a little bit, but that was just because of the wetness out there. But I knew once I got the yellow flag, I could put my head down and just charge the front, and we can get a second out of this. And that's what we did. My teams worked hard, and Cooper tires were hooked up. The track was just starting to come in. I wish we had another 10 laps there. I think we could have caught Jarrett, but it's fun. We're going to get this truck ready for the Cup race and hopefully come out on top. So.
You passed there, McGrath, right there at the finish. What did you see?
Yeah, you know, it's in a hard spot. It's easier being the hunter than the hunted, and I threw it in on him down there, and I knew he was thinking about it, so it was all he could do to stay down on the inside, and it was anybody's game, and luckily we were able to pull through at the end.
Yeah, and a huge congratulations. We'll see you later on in that Crandon Cup. All right, we're going to walk over to McGrath, who finished third on the podium. Oh, McGrath, that was a tight one. Walk us through that finish and what happened and your perspective there.
Well, I mean, look, the Crandon track's great. It's super wide, and that's what makes it fun. You can go inside and outside and all that stuff. And I mean, look, I knew he was behind me. That we didn't need that last yellow flag. My truck was running awesome. My Maxxis tires were awesome, and it's good to be back here for the 50th for sure. But Kincaid's probably got about a million more laps than I do on this track. So I figured if I go outside, he's going to go inside. If I go inside, he's going to go around the outside. So I was a little confused on what to do, but I just tried to keep him around the outside, and he just kind of got me by foot there at the line.
I know a lot of fans were excited to see you out racing. How special was it for you to be out here in Crandon? It's the 50th anniversary to be racing.
Well, we've been trying for a couple years to get back to Crandon. I raced here a long time ago with Johnny Greaves and his team and had a blast. I knew I always wanted to come back to the big house, and to get here this weekend with my small crew, Maxxis guys really was a big help. Icon, of course, suspension on this thing, and it takes a team of guys. So we're lucky to be here for the 50th, and to get on the podium is a great start to the day.
And it was a fun one to watch. Congrats on that podium.
All right, thanks.
Jason.
Always good to see the king of Supercross. And yeah, again, he doesn't have to do this. He wanted to do it, and he came out here and did very, very well and put it up on the podium. I'll show you some highlights of this one, starting with a crazy land rush start. And I mean crazy with a capital C. It's about as wild as it's going to get here early in this one.
I mean, just having everybody funnel down, drifting sideways. They kept it clean in turn one. Where it went crazy was here in two. A little bit of contact between Carlson and Winter, collected a ton of the group, took Horde out with damage. A flat tire, of course, to Kincaid, you can see there. And that was really where it all started. But Brooks, on that first lap, tried to make a run around everyone. Out came the yellows, and they had to do it all over again.
Okay, now we see how Brooks was able to make those passes. He waited for late for the yellow. He got pushed back to row two as we restarted with the land rush again. Kincaid all the way on the outside now, and McGrath on the inside, able to control it.
And McGrath with a great start and great presence of mind, where to put the truck in the fast line, trying to stay out of the wet spots. He had a great move there in turn two, but then we start to look further back in the pack as some of the contact, some of the chaos continued to happen. And Kincaid definitely had to battle back after starting to the outside, but then it didn't help that he spun around down here and had to restart from back behind a couple more trucks.
Unbelievable that he was able to come back from third despite all of that carnage. Jarrett Brooks was eventually able to wrestle the lead away from McGrath. He had passed everyone from row one and tried to get away. Left us with great battling for the number 2 spot. Carlson, Kincaid, and MC going to war.
And really, Kincaid made some great moves on Kleinman, then on Carlson, and then when it came down to the end of the race, looking at McGrath, trying to get side by side with him, trying to make the right decision as they drag race back towards that checkered flag. And this is where it went down. I mean, you see him try to set, like maybe he's going to set to go to the inside here, but then he drifts the outside. McGrath seemingly has it, but boom, the momentum, the cushion, the hookup is all Kincaid, and he takes that second position.
And McGrath said it so well, the track is so wide, and a lot of the drivers were worried when we talked to them on Friday that the track wouldn't be raceable, there wouldn't be multiple lines, but it has absolutely turned out that you can, as McGrath said, go inside, or go outside, whatever way you want to play it. He was a sitting duck there. There was a strategy he could use to hold Kincaid off. Meanwhile, the win goes to Jarrett Brooks. So that is it for our World Championship in two-wheel drive. The record book will say Jarrett Brooks. Four-wheel drive trucks coming up. We're going to take a short break, and we'll return to Crandon.
Check out the Motor Channel on Red Bull TV. Motorsports at its finest, all over the globe. Download the Red Bull TV app for free and sign in to watch all of our content offline. Download the app now. The world's greatest cross-country rally events.
Go fast is what it's all about. This is paradise. It's a lot of hard work.
Take a close look behind the scenes of 2019's biggest gearhead marathons.
People are going nuts.
On the road with Rally Raid. Now available on Red Bull TV. Get ready for the ultimate race. The last Red Bull Air Race in history.
Welcome back to Crandon. Yes, home of the World Championship off-road race. This started out as a small event for people in the area to drive their Jeeps and buggies, motorcycles through the forest back in 1970, but it has turned into a world-class off-road event with the best drivers from the East and West meeting to be crowned world champions. We've already done that in our two-wheel drive division. Our four-wheel drive race, the fastest trucks of all, will be coming up next. Great racing so far here, Cameron. It's been unbelievable.
Absolutely, and I can't believe we get to see more of it. It keeps coming. The energy keeps running hard, and every time they come together, whether it's the land rush start or another lap of the race, coming through that turn one, on the gas, sliding sideways, drifting, it makes your hair stand up on end. It is unbelievable. Now, having the Pro 4s coming up soon, that is a sight to see. If you haven't seen it before, hang on to your hats and glasses, folks.
Okay, so yes, present-day racing at a very high level. That's going to be spectacular, but when you come to Crandon, so much of this event is about the history. So let's get to see more of the 50 years of this event.
The 50th anniversary of Crandon, man, the history of this place, this is short course as far as I'm concerned.
I tell everybody I raised my drivers from seeds, and this dirt is what made them grow.
50 years is a long time. It's a long time for a marriage. It's a long time for a business. And to have off-road racing in Crandon, it's 1,600, 1,800 people to be here for 50 years, and we're still going stronger than ever. It's going to be just a heck of a time in Crandon, I can tell you that.
Crandon speaks for itself in that respect. You know, it's been here forever, and a lot of the history has been on the same track that we're racing, so that part's really cool.
What an amazing place. I think the first time I came back to Crandon was when Walker Evans brought me back in 1989, and just to see everything here was an incredible thing.
That's the history that keeps bringing these back, these third and fourth generations of families that celebrate Labor Day here at Crandon at the big house.
If you walk around the pitch, you could tell it's the 50th anniversary. I mean, it's packed. So many campers, pretty much every single short course off-road racer is here for this 50th anniversary. They're trying to make it the biggest race of pretty much history of short course racing.
All the best of the best is here, so we finally have a race where it can be a world championship. You know, it's always been named that, but is it really? Well, this weekend it is, for sure.
It's rivalries, whatever sport it is, whether it's your favorite football team or baseball team or NASCAR driver. It's those rivalries that build the sport, and this place was built on rivalries, and you're going to see it here.
Crandon is the Indy 500, it's the Super Bowl, you know, of off-road racing. You know, I'd love nothing more to be here to participate in the 50th.
A lot of the legends are coming here to watch this 50.
Ever since I started racing short course, I've always looked up to all the guys that race back here and won the cup races and got to hold up that trophy and the wreath around their neck. Well, my favorite year back here is when I won every single race that we entered. We won the Pro 2 race, we won the Pro 4 race, then we won the Cup race, and that's never been done before, so it's one of those days that you'll remember for the rest of your life.
We were approaching our 200th win, and all of a sudden we hit a wall. For 10 races, we didn't win one, and we happened to get it here. We'd be able to do it in front of all the fans. You know, there was probably 25,000 people here that weekend, and to do it in front of them, have them giving us high fives, and everything was really cool.
It's pretty cool for me because I have a picture. I'm like 4 years old, standing on the fence in turn one, watching Walker Evans race here back when my dad was his crew chief. So I feel like Crandon was a part of me and the memories I have with my dad as a little kid. So there's so many different emotions than just the biggest short course race ever.
It's cool to have everyone here, some new faces, some people that we haven't seen in a long time. I can't wait just to go out there and race and do some battle.
It's going to be fast, it's going to be exciting, and nothing can be better than what we got going this weekend right now.
What I love about that piece, off-road racing is in some ways a regional sport. You just look at terrain. You have desert terrain in the west, and you have forested terrain in the Midwest and the east. So much of the sport becomes specialized. It was this race that really was the first where Walker Evans, one of the legends out in California, discovered this and said, I need to bring my trucks and my team here. That started bringing a lot of people from the West Coast. And when you see, for example, the Greaves family, who are legends here, you saw on the piece Rick Johnson, the old Supercross legend, and then an off-road truck legend out west. He and Johnny Greaves with a rivalry, East versus West, and fairly equally matched. That's what makes this race so special.
Absolutely, and Kurt Leduc brought it to the West Coast.
Yeah,
he came
here.
out and started teaching people a lesson on how to race out there, and we were like, who is this guy? Who's Kurt Leduc? And it's just amazing to see the rivalries that have built over the years. And then what's really cool about this 50th anniversary is you're wandering around the pits, and there is Walker Evans. There's Scott. I mean, I'm pointing right now, and there is Scott Taylor standing right there. And it's amazing to see all these faces and the new faces. But what I really like the most about it is the youngsters. Like you heard R.J. Anderson talking about his dad, Randy Anderson, who is racing in the Legends race here today, by the way. The feeling, the energy, the emotion that goes along with it. That's what's really key. And just to see that from everybody at every age level.
Yep. We're having a good time here in the very famous barn outside of Turn 2. But now let's send it down to Kate Osborne with more.
Well, two world champs, the 2015 world champ of Kyle Leduc and the 2017 of Bryce Menzies are not starting where they want to start in today's event. Kyle Leduc went to shake down his truck before yesterday's event and didn't even compete. That engine blew. They did an engine change overnight and has the last pick of today's event. Bryce Menzies, on the other hand, broke a rear axle, which has never happened here at Crandon before. And he says it's so disappointing because he knows lanes 1 through 5 are the fastest with those tiny rollers. He said his ultimate goal is to get in top 5 in this event, where Kyle Leduc says his goal is he thinks he can get out in top 5 by the end of turn 1. It is a big gamble. We know that today it's all about the cup race.
Yes.
For Sunday's race, we have a championship race in the morning, and then we have the cup race at night. So the crew has to work almost twice as hard because we have to make sure this truck is ready to go after the first race of the day. And, we're not going to hold back. That race is for a ring, it's for a championship back here. So it's all out. And who knows if you blow an engine, transmission, whatever, you have to get that truck ready for the end of the day to go out and try to fight for that cup race.
You got to be on point. We've had situations in the past where we'd had to swap an engine from the class race Sunday morning to the cup race in the afternoon. So being prepared and making sure that everybody's, got their specific job in specific area, and then it helps, in the end, fundamentally coming together to make it controlled chaos.
What we'll do is we'll assess all the big vital parts first, and then we'll kind of trickle down, look at the small stuff, and go from there. If it is an engine or something like that, we have everything ready to go already. It's something that we plan for. And I think sometimes when you plan for things, bad things don't happen, so we try to plan for the worst, hoping that it never does happen. We make sure that everything's ready to go, big and small.
There's a lot of preparation, and it's a lot of unknown, you know what I mean? You're just prepared for anything that happens in the race previously. We always bring a good crew here, good family, so there's a lot of help. They put in a lot of hours and a lot of effort to get here.
Yes, that's the gauntlet. 2 races in one day. We already ran 2-wheel drive. Next will be 4-wheel drive, and later this afternoon we'll put them all on the track together. Take a quick break from Crandon, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Big House, Crandon, Wisconsin, home of the World Championship short course off-road race for the 50th anniversary. They really went big. Lots of fun things for the spectators to see and do, including a Kid Rock concert on Friday night. They absolutely packed it. It was spectacular. But the real focus, of course, is on racing, and maybe the largest focus of all on this class. Pro 4x4, the fastest trucks here, and some huge names. CJ Greaves won the four-wheel drive race yesterday. Doug Mittag was second, RJ Anderson third. Johnny Greaves was in the hunt. He finished fourth. But what's just as interesting is the big names that have the bad starting positions, as Kate reported on earlier. So you see the 99 to the outside. We have not seen Kyle LeDuc on the racetrack so far this weekend. Do they have that truck at full song? We're going to find out. Revs are about to climb, and we're about to be underway with 900 horsepower, and the only class that runs spec race tires and four-wheel drive. Pro 4 about to race here at Crandon. Let's crown a world champion. Menzies and LeDuc on the outside did not get the jump they wanted. Meanwhile, lots of bumping and banging in the middle. Scott Douglas already turned around, and he takes Menzies with him. A disaster off the start for two former winners of this race and two of the favorites.
Bryce looking to restart the engine.
CJ Greaves out front, and I believe that's Doug Mittag right behind him. And these two really went at it hard yesterday. And they're a rematch today. Johnny Greaves in third. Johnny down to the inside. Can't make the move on Mittag.
RJ Anderson sitting in fourth. We'll see if a caution comes out or not. It looks like the caution flags are up. And that'll be decided here, yes.
Johnny Greaves gonna take out everybody with that dive bomb to the inside. It spins CJ and allows Mittag to take the lead. Now the caution was out. We're gonna see how they score this. CJ's not, I don't think, too happy about that, but it was actually caused by his dad. Saw the opening and went for it in a hurry.
And it's possible, we don't have the comms directly from race comms. It's possible that CJ Spotter had called the yellow was coming out. CJ might have checked up, and maybe Johnny Spotter had not called that because maybe the comms don't come out until they get to the start finish. We don't have the privilege of those comms, but big contact there. The question is, are any of the trucks damaged? And that, I think, is the question that you see being asked there by the back and forth turning to make sure the steering feels okay. And here's a discussion.
It's getting heated up there. That's Mittag's crew on the left. And a Greaves crew on the right. And we hear it will be a full restart. So a lot of things to try to... Oh, CJ is not happy about the way this turned out. But again, there was some contact between both of the Greaves and Mittag yesterday. And CJ voiced his displeasure about that. But we talked to Mittag this morning, and he said, actually, Johnny hit me first.
Earlier in the race, there was contact, right?
Yes.
So there was definitely some feelings that were a little hurt there. There were some comments made that we heard on the air about rough driving and the timings. So there's a lot of people very focused on it. You can see here Douglas got sideways. That collected Menzies, almost got LeDuc, but Menzies off track into the bushes.
Wow, that was a brush run 101 right there for Menzies, off track, on board with him here. Wow.
Wow, a huge contact with LeDuc. You gotta, once again, you gotta wonder if there's any damage. Now, when we talk about damage, the side to side, door to door, you'd think, oh, maybe not a big deal, but I'll tell you this, if they hit those front tires, there can definitely be damage to the four-wheel drive system.
That, CJ is probably gonna be upset with Mittag here, but Mittag got hit by Johnny Greaves, and that's what set the entire process in motion. Maybe Mittag would have gotten to him anyway. We'll never know.
Johnny looking like he's getting greedy on the bottom, drifts out a bit, gets contact with Mittag, who is dropping from the high to low. And that's exactly what we hope not to see. I mean, it's interesting, of course, but you want to see clean, hard racing, some bumping door to door, sure, but we don't want to have damaged vehicles. We want to have everybody able to get back to the restart or race all the way through the race, and that's what makes it great. So hopefully everybody can get back to the start line on this one.
Right, and two things to think about. Not only can they get the trucks repaired for this race, but the World Cup race later on today. Let's send it down to Kate.
We talked about the starting position was critical here at Crandon, and Bryce Menzies was definitely the culprit of what just happened. Everyone kind of pushed him in, and according to Charlie Schlevy here, Bryce is in a terminal condition. There was something with the front end. They're not entirely sure, perhaps the tie rod. We'll find out a little later on today, but a very disappointing day for Bryce Menzies.
Oh, that is terrible news. So Menzies, who won this race in 2017, won both his individual classes, and then came up and won the race where they're all on the track together. They're already into repair mode on that machine. So the question is, can they wrench on that enough to get him back for the race later this afternoon? It is done as far as trying to win this race in Pro 4.
But it doesn't keep him from racing later in that Cup race. And that contact was massive. I mean, you could see how he came together with Kyle LeDuc. The question is Kyle's truck able to go? I mean, look at how many trucks are on the restart line. Not very many at this point. So we'll see if more come back to join, but it's certainly unknown as they're still setting up the start line, and that is probably why some of the trucks are sitting back. But hopefully we get a full field back, less Menzies. What a bummer. I mean, Bryce was so fast and so spot on in the racing yesterday in the final points-paying race of the year, and unfortunately broke an axle.
While leading, yeah.
While leading.
That is 91 is Kyle Chaney. Now it looks like they're still changing some of the grid here. Ross Hoke pulling in now in the 10, and then that looked like the 23 about to get gridded. That's Jerry Doherty. Okay, so it's going to be a bigger line than we thought. They were just waiting for everyone
to
get
into
in. For a
second there was a slight amount of panic that we had far too many trucks damaged.
Everybody's starting to go back into position. Cheney in the 11 working his way forward, that orange truck. So this is what everyone knew could happen. We have a much larger field. It's the 50th anniversary. Everyone wanted to be in Crandon. It looks like LeDuc is lining up. There's Jamie Flannery in the number 3. Why are there more trucks here? Because people like Jamie Flannery, who haven't raced in years, wanted to be at this race, but Flannery realized very quickly these trucks have gotten a lot faster since the last time he was here.
You know, 99 was the last year I really ran. We used to run into this corner at 93 miles an hour. And the other day when I was testing, I think we were 106, 107, whatever. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're like 15 miles an hour faster than what we were 20 years ago, it's a big difference. The trucks are just so much faster. The speeds and the gearboxes and the way everything works, they're actually incredible. It's almost mind-boggling how fast they really are.
Yeah, Crandon is the fastest as far as not just top speed in short course off-road with hitting over 100 miles an hour, but Cameron, you and a lot of the drivers are talking about the average speed all the way around the track is elevated.
For sure, and one thing that really comes to mind, you don't get to race at these high speeds all the time, especially racing from the West Coast, where you're setting up for corners in that 40, 50 mile an hour range. Here you're setting up for corners where you're in the 70 and 80 mile range, and that makes a huge difference on not only how you set for the corner, but how you set your truck up as well in some cases. And some drivers are just comfortable with one setup, they bring it, they drive to that, but can you imagine the lead time it changes as you're changing for a setup to a corner in 30 miles an hour faster? It's an incredible way to set up, and I'm sure it makes you really think when you start setting the truck sideways at 80 plus miles an hour.
There is Mittag, who had a flat tire and had to go to the hot pit. They got it repaired, but he's going to be put on the outside of the grid. If you visit the hot pit, then you lose your original starting position. Mittag drove very well yesterday, ended up second behind Greaves in our four-wheel drive race. Had a cool conversation with him this morning. Actually spent a lot of time for some years racing in Indonesia. Said he flew 100 times at one point in 1 year, racing both here in the United States and in Indonesia. So he's well-traveled. Absolutely loves racing at Crandon, though. And he'll be on the outside, though, one of the favorites. It's going to make it difficult on him.
I think the other fact on Mittag that I thought was incredible, not only the 100 flights, but he spent 3 days at home in 1 year.
Yeah.
Is what he said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he was racing, even though he's from California, the majority of his races either in Indonesia or here in the Midwest, so he just moved essentially to Green Bay, Wisconsin to be based in this neck of the woods. Now he's back out in California, but wanted to be here for this one. There is Cowboy. This is part of the tradition here. He's always inspecting the grid for these Land Rush starts. And I believe we're around a minute away from restarting our Pro 4 race. At least it's good to see LeDuc in the 99 did escape engine problems for him. We did not get to see him on the track at all yesterday. Not in qualifying, not in racing. I guess one of the other questions is, they repaired the engine or put a new engine in it, but is it the same? Is his truck at 100%? He's on the line, but how fast can he go?
It doesn't sound like they feel like they have an equal power plant, but that could come into gamesmanship too. You're not exactly sure you're always getting the exact information.
Yeah.
So, but the story is that it's not at the same level of power plant. We'll see how he goes here, but as we've already seen how dangerous it is coming from that outside, it's already taken Menzies out here, and a big, also Scott Douglas not in the field on the restart.
So here we go, the Land Rush start, and again the 23 jumps, and everyone else takes off. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Could be a penalty coming. We're underway, way down to the inside, left side of our screen. CJ Greaves looking to control it.
What a move by Adrian Cheney from the outside. He sliced across and made some great moves there to lock position. Looks like he's going to be in that orange truck in about the 6th spot, but right now it's CJ Greaves.
RJ Anderson right on his hip. Anderson, let's see how he plays it from second. He's looking down to the inside in the gravel pit. No, he's going to follow CJ in. Then another inside attempt from Johnny Greaves in third, and they come together again. Johnny Greaves up on the bank, running into Anderson, running into mid-tag. And look at the 99 of LeDuc was able to snake his way through all of it.
RJ Anderson over-rotated slightly and collected some of the group. Here comes Kyle LeDuc in the all gray, the number 99. There's Cheney in the orange.
And unbelievable racing early on in the first lap. That Land Rush start living up to the hype.
For sure, and then the way they have to settle into their position on the track, and no one wants to give up anything. Here comes Kyle down the bottom, rotating hard. He's going to try to out-drag race Greaves, who goes way too wide. He gets off in the soft, and it's Kyle LeDuc moving up into that third position.
Well, he may or may not have his A-grade power plant, but Kyle LeDuc is making it work from third and now challenging Anderson. Whoa! Big run around the outside from Johnny Greaves, trying to repass LeDuc, while CJ Greaves is looking to run it high.
And looks like LeDuc looking to the bottom here. He's going to try to take position in one, and he does. He drives by Anderson, and Anderson has had some contact. We'll see if there's any damage to the truck. Oh, and Kyle risking it, throwing it sideways, side-loading that landing. He has moved into the second position. All eyes on CJ Greaves, and believe me, they definitely have some history. The Greaves and the LeDucs.
Oh, this is going to be fun to watch. Can the 99 track down the leader? RJ Anderson trying to keep LeDuc honest. Johnny Greaves and Adrian Cheney right there as well.
And a big landing there for RJ Anderson. And look at this. Here comes Cheney, the orange truck, looking down on the bottom. And this is some good tight racing. These are the 2nd through 5th position on our race. CJ Greaves has breathing room. CJ Spotter telling him, hey, you have some space. Run the lines you want to run. And look at LeDuc, how hard he backs it in.
And a nice job by Johnny Greaves, who's going to slice inside and make the move with a little bit of contact on RJ Anderson. Anderson trying to come back on him as well as Cheney. So now it's a knockdown drag out for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. LeDuc getting away. Nice job by Cheney down to the inside. Let's see if he can make the move on Anderson.
I think that I don't think RJ has a complete truck. Something's going on there. We'll try to take a look. It might actually look like he has a low tire, which could be a factor here for sure.
Losing ground in a hurry. So a couple of battles to watch. This one for 3rd. It's now Cheney versus Johnny Greaves, the orange and the black. And then up front, can Kyle LeDuc make up ground on their leader, CJ Greaves?
Everybody in this front group of 5 has won in Pro 4. A lot of historic names, a big history here. Of course, CJ Greaves, the youngster at 24 years of age. He has a great history already developed, following in the footsteps of his father, who's sitting in the 3rd position. Cheney, of course, he is willing to go for it. He is fast. He has proven himself someone that can win. And when he has a truck that's got the setup on, he is someone who is a factor.
So LeDuc, first time on track this weekend, able to work his way from a bad start on the grid to 2nd. Can he close in? He has. He has closed the gap on your leader, CJ Greaves. Greaves won the World Cup race with all the trucks on track in 2015 and last year. So CJ, one of the legends already, although a young driver. But LeDuc, he wants to show that West is best today.
The back-end move, they all back it in. What we mean is they're rotating the truck early and coming in virtually backwards. No one does it with more pizzazz, more look than that 99 of Kyle LeDuc. He throws that truck in. He has so much control. They all do, but Kyle's style is he likes to come in backwards.
Let's send it to Kate.
As we know, this is not the prime engine for Kyle LeDuc, and he did have a bad start on the outside. That being said, he's a good hunter and he likes the chase, and right now he is showing that he can chase down CJ Greaves.
And there's that rotation you were talking about, Cameron, and that's going to pay off because he's got different entry points in his corners. If he can get to CJ Greaves, he's going to be able to find an opening to try to make a pass. But you know CJ doesn't want to let it happen. We're about to lock horns for the lead in Pro 4 at Crandon.
And out comes the full course caution and the red.
Should be the competition caution here in this class. Although LeDuc didn't need the help. He had already closed the gap up. But now we're going to get into a restart situation. It'll bring Johnny Greaves, Anderson, Cheney, and everyone else back together. We're on board. You're looking at the back of your leader, CJ Greaves, who did win the four-wheel drive race yesterday. But at times, other drivers were quicker, including his dad. Johnny was putting the pressure on. Bryce Menzies was gone. He had pulled away until his truck broke. And CJ, you see a spotter up there, was saying a lot of the drivers are more aggressive. I was trying to hit my marks. Everybody else was throwing it in deep. And that was definitely the case in this one. You saw how hard LeDuc was entering the corners. We'll see which driving style works, because it's going to be one-on-one when we restart.
And you saw Cheney had a right rear flat tire. He's headed for the hot pit. And worth note, we didn't mention yet that Johnny Greaves told me that he lost the plug wire yesterday, and that's where he went from being ultra competitive to not being quite as competitive. Still able to hold it down, but he ended up losing some positions due to that.
Yeah, he ended up fourth yesterday. RJ Anderson was third. Mittag, who had his problems at the beginning of this race, was second yesterday, and through all that carnage, Greaves, CJ, was able to take the win. Let's send it back down trackside, Bettina.
Yeah, and guys, Kyle LeDuc driving now like he wants this win. Something to keep in mind. If you go back to 2016, he was out with engine problems. And then fast forward 2017, 2018, he's finished on the podium here, but always in that second position. He does not want to get second again, and I'll tell you what, watching him drive, it looks like he wants that win, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Now, on the West Coast, the Lucas Oil Short Course Series out there, he has been the perennial favorite in Pro 4. The LeDuc family synonymous with Crandon. We know he knows how to drive well and how to build a truck for this track. He has just not had the luck on his side at times, and other years he's just been frustratingly close to getting it. He has not won the Cup race at this track since 2014. He also won it in 2009. 65 laps of testing, he told us, he put in on this racetrack to be prepared to go out and win. But then it all fell apart with the engine problems. Early in the weekend, they have fixed it. It might not be his prime engine, but it certainly looks good enough to be competitive and try to go for the win. And there you see him lurking right behind CJ Greaves.
And Kyle has 78 Pro 4 wins. That's second all-time to Johnny Greaves. And Johnny Greaves looking for his 100th win. These stats coming from my good buddy Ken Stout, who is the statistician of off-road racing, and a big fan as well. And you know, we've had the pleasure of calling the last decade of Kyle LeDuc's career on the West Coast, and I'll tell you, he is the highest level of competitor. And what's in, a little love there on the restart.
Yeah, running into the back of Greaves. So here it is, the classic East versus West. You've got Greaves in front of LeDuc. The local product versus the Californian, and LeDuc, is he going to run the inside? He does.
And definitely worth noting that LeDuc is between the two Greaves. Son in front, father in back, so he's going to have to watch for a very crafty Johnny Greaves, who looked incredibly fast yesterday. Look at that, getting side by side, trying to get the run across the stripe, not able to do it, but he is putting the pressure on. And Johnny looks like he's just about 3 car lengths back. He is still in this conversation, but right now it is CJ in front and Kyle second. Very tight. Look at Kyle backing it in.
But a good job by CJ. That was the line that LeDuc had used several times to make passes. Didn't happen. We're hearing 4 to go right now in this one. Let's see if LeDuc has got an opening. Can he make the pass for the lead? We got another shot at it right here.
And you can see slight differences in setup, but there, CJ and Kyle both really coming around almost exactly the same. Very poetic the way they line that up and set it up, keeping it clean. I love that part. Hard racing, keeping it clean. And look at Kyle racing right down behind him. He's going to take a look down the inside, trying to run down there, trying to get that spot. No contact, but boy, they are door to door as they go up and over the rise in turn 2.
Into the gravel pit, one of the best places to make a pass, and CJ Greaves able to edge back ahead.
Watch
Leduc's going to run the inside. There's the rotation you've been talking about. Can he use it to grab the lead? CJ Greaves with a good run off the corner to hold him at bay.
Leduc going back to the inside. Watch for the rotation. Watch for him to try to get down the bottom. Gives him a little door, a little bit of door.
And Leduc spins, and he's going to hand over second to Johnny Greaves.
He might not have only spun, he might have stalled. That's what it looked like. It looked like it went off power.
He saw the opening, he went forward, it backfired, and now the Greaves boys are 1-2. Son and dad up front. You got to credit Leduc. He saw the opening. He knew that was one of his best shots at it. Time is actually running out in this race. It is further into the race than what you see at the top of the screen. It says 6 of 9, but due to the restarts, I believe we only have 2 to go here. So Leduc saw the shot, he went for it, but it has cost him. He's gone backwards. Mittag somehow is up to third despite stopping in the hot pit for a fresh tire.
Mittag's second 1 round to go. The energy for me is in that front. Let's see if Johnny can chase down CJ. Remember, yesterday they were very competitive until Johnny lost that spark plug wire, and we'll see how that plays out. There's Kyle. He's got the truck going again, but he is quite a ways back. We'll try to get you positioning here shortly as there's a good look at Kyle losing his hood right in front of the stands, right in front of all the fans. Oh, it looks like yep, caught, but got off the front of the truck for Travis Dinsmore.
Wow, amazing racing to watch here. Johnny Greaves trying to keep the heat on CJ, and this is what CJ did yesterday. Other trucks might have been faster and certainly were more aggressive. He just kept holding his line, and he was able to outlast, including his dad, including several other drivers that went after him. Mittag tried it a couple times.
My dad always told me you can't win if you don't finish. And you can't win if you don't have a whole truck at the end, generally speaking. And CJ's doing a great job of melting those two worlds together. Going incredibly fast, taking the risk, but still keeping a complete and whole truck to get it all the way to the end of the race. You gotta do it if you wanna win. You can't just go out and bang. And actually, Kyle went for a big pass. Maybe didn't predict that kind of contact, but it sends him back in the field. And now we're talking about CJ Greaves all by himself out front.
So the living legend, Johnny Greaves, one of the all-time favorites in this neck of the woods, and then CJ, who has been so strong the last couple of years in Midwest off-road racing. They're the leaders. Let's send it back to Katie.
It was interesting talking to Johnny Greaves, who has run more laps around Crandon than probably anybody out here this weekend. But he said that one of the most fun things is getting a chance to run with CJ. He gets to learn from him, and he also gets to watch him learn and progress. He says when they're out running, it is all smiles. I'm not certain he'll say that with a second versus a first. What do you two think about that?
Well, we've seen it before. I remember 2015 I was here, and it was essentially door-to-door between father and son with the checkered flag in sight. Now 1 lap to go. And yeah, that time when CJ got the edge in the Cup race, Johnny was both happy and mad, I think, at the same time. He was happy for his son to win, but obviously he wants to win it as well. There's the spotter for CJ. They've got a half a lap separating them from a Pro 4 World Championship in 2019.
And the race is now for second. CJ has made the break. He is so far ahead that unless there was a catastrophic mistake, it would not be possible for him to be caught. And looking like it looks like Mittag is now second. Well, we got to find out what happened with Johnny, but Mittag now running second as he did 1 day ago. And in that third spot, RJ Anderson.
Great perseverance from Mittag, who again had to visit the hot pit to repair a tire. It looked like all hope was lost, and somehow he was able to rally to second. Looks like Johnny trying to fight back and reclaim that position. Meanwhile, it is a left front flat, by the way, we hear for RJ Anderson, who was up near the podium position early in this one, so that has cost him dearly. So, same story on Saturday as it is on Sunday. Everyone was aggressive, everyone was fast, but the cleanest, the smartest, the smoothest was CJ Greaves, and that is going to make the difference. The 33 is your world champion for 2019 in Crandon in Pro 4-wheel drive. And here Johnny Greaves and Anderson fighting. Let's see, I believe that might have been because of the laps. We'll see if that's actually Anderson in second, or was he down? We heard it was a flat tire. It looked okay to me.
Definitely Mittag has a flat, and Leduc is upside down. He is tangled up, it looks like, with Andrew Carlson.
Unbelievable, the carnage for Leduc and Bryce Menzies, and we'll also throw Scott Douglas in that ring as well. All 3 of them tangled early on the very first start of this race. That knocked Menzies and Douglas out of the race altogether. LeDuc came all the way back to challenge for the lead.
And this is right at the checkered flag.
Unbelievable, and this is part of what short course off-road racing is all about. The speeds are great, good consistent driving is great, but we can show you what happened here. Yeah, absolutely, crashes are part of the game.
And they'll come into screen, and Carlson gets underneath LeDuc and sends him for a tumble. Obviously, we didn't see the whole action, so we don't know how it started, who went under, who went outside. But from what it looked like there was contact made. LeDuc is climbing over the top of his race truck.
He's probably not happy about this. We heard there was some heat up in the spotter stand between the Carlson crew and the LeDuc crew, which is certainly understandable in this situation. And tempers have been flaring all weekend. These drivers want it maybe now more than ever at the 50th anniversary of this race. And when they're out there on the track, they are leaving absolutely nothing. Each driver pushing for every single position. Oh, he is hot right now.
Kyle LeDuc definitely fired up, to say the very least. And he's letting Andrew Carlson know he's not happy about it. And hey, you know, you bring your race truck out, you have problems, you know, had to have a motor swap, and then to get to the checkered and get flipped over, whether or not who's at fault, I mean, when you see the entire shot, who knows? But there it definitely looked like Carlson was driving through LeDuc. Kyle's still not happy.
No, understandable, and you certainly hope that none of the damage incurred in this situation are going to cost him a chance to come back and race for the Red Bull Crandon Cup later today when the four-wheel drive trucks and the two-wheel drive machines are on the track together. You hope that everybody can get everything rectified and get back out on the track. So it'd be one thing to get wrecked in a race and lose position here. It'd be even worse if it leads to problems that don't allow you to compete later. So a lot of emotions out on the racetrack right now because of the scope of this race and also what's to come later this afternoon. And meanwhile, the one driver who's probably had the least said about him because he's stayed out front of the fray, CJ Greaves, for the most part, has been clean. There was a little tangle up at the very beginning of this race that he wasn't happy about. He was able to calm himself, get the start when they got to the restart, and was able to control it from there. There's LeDuc still, center of the screen. Haven't seen Carlson
Yeah,
yet.
I was going to say, we haven't seen Carlson, and we haven't seen his truck restart, so just hoping everything's okay there. We're just watching the pictures.
No drama here. CJ Greaves able to hold on and take the win. There's Kyle LeDuc. Like we said, 65 laps of testing that he put in on this track for this race. An absolute hyper focus to try to win the 50th anniversary of this event. It's not going to come together in the Pro 4 division. You're going back over. And we've got some of the equipment out to try to get these trucks righted.
And it looks like Carlson's truck is off, and that was the problem. He couldn't get it restarted.
And the fans come to life as they get a shot. And they get to see what has happened with the tangle up there. Meanwhile, finally the track is cleared, and CJ Greaves can begin to celebrate just like he did yesterday. CJ won the two-wheel drive championship last year and the Cup race with 2- and 4-wheel drive together a year ago. He did it in his 4-wheel drive truck in the Cup race last year. Doesn't have the 2-wheel drive today. It's going to be this machine already proving itself, winning today and winning yesterday, that he'll have at his disposal at about 4 o'clock local time when we put 2- and 4-wheel drive together for the Red Bull Crandon Cup. But that's for later. Right now, this is something they can't take away from him. He'll go in the record books as our 4-wheel drive world champion at Crandon for 2019. CJ Greaves, certainly a popular win. The Greaves family, just synonymous with racing in this region of the country.
For sure, and he'll be getting out of the car. We'll be talking to him shortly, and hopefully, like we said, hope the cars are okay for some of the other vehicles to come back later in the day. Looks like everything's A-okay for CJ. Great personality, big smiles in the pits, easy to talk to, and of course, this is where he feels at home inside the race car, but equally comfortable talking to people and having a good time just being here at Crandon for this historic event.
It is synonymous with Crandon. Multi-generations of fans in the stands and multi-generations of drivers on the racetrack, and they have cheered on the number 33 throughout his career, and he's gone all the way to the top He's your champion in Midwest short course off-road racing in this division, and now the world champion by winning today at Crandon. Let's send it to Tina.
Yeah, thanks. And CJ, now the world champion. That was a battle. Kyle LeDuc was throwing everything at you, especially that first half. What were you doing to fight him off?
Oh, I was struggling like the first couple, till probably 2 laps to go. I don't know if I was messing with my brakes and starting to get it better with like 2 to go, but I was really struggling in a tree turn back there, and every time I would come in there, I would mess it up and he would get closer. All right, now we got to do this again. Make sure that we can get a car length so that when we come in there and mess it up again, he's not right there. So by the end, we started to clean it up. He started throwing insides, got into me, and he got short end of the stick this time. So hopefully we keep the ball rolling. We've done everything we needed to so far. Got good starts, good finishes, stayed clean. Didn't really get into any contact all weekend. So this Toyota engine is running great. Monster Energy. Max's tires have been hooking up. Method Race Wheels, Fox Shocks, killing it out there. Everyone that helps us out, all my crew, they worked their butts off to be here, and we really couldn't thank them guys enough. Crandon, Red Bull, everyone that put this event together for us today, and we get to race for $50,000 coming up here, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, 1 down, 1 more to go. The Crandon Cup still to come. What is going to win that this time? Because there's so many fast trucks out here, and everyone is driving aggressive.
Yeah, they're putting anyone who signs up out there. So there could be 32 Pro 2s and 17 Pro 4s lining up. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be get a good start, stay clean, stay out of trouble, and just get your way through them Pro 2s. Them guys are fast. Keegan and Jared are both running really good all weekend, even on the DOTs. So it's going to be a good time, and can't wait to get out there.
Fantastic job. Congratulations on this win, Jason.
Thank you, Tina. Yeah, the DOTs, these four-wheel drive trucks are the only ones that run the full race spec tire, and they have four-wheel drive, so the traction is a huge advantage, but later today they will have to start in the back row, and they'll give the two-wheel drive machines a head start. That's going to be spectacular to watch these drivers try to come through traffic. Greaves takes the win. Anderson somehow perseveres for second. Mittag third, and that was a battle right down to the line. Adrian Cheney fourth. Johnny Greaves, problems again late in the race when it looked like he might have finished second. He ends up fifth. Andrew Carlson sixth. LeDuc right behind him, or on top of him, any way you want to describe it, seventh. Cheney, Dinsmore, Doherty round out the top 10. We'll send it back down to Tina.
Oh, and I'd say perseverance is the word that matches how you drove out there. It looked like it was going to be Johnny and CJ, and then you finished second. What were you telling yourself throughout that race?
You can see this Rockstar Energy Pro 4 is a little beat up right behind me. Coming into the gravel pit on the restart, the very first lap, I got a front left flat tire. So I raced the whole entire race with only 3 tires with air in them. And at first I was figuring out how to drive it. A couple guys, Kyle, them got by me. I would push super bad on the right-hander, so I got it figured out that if I threw it super hard in the rights and got it pointed straight, I could get, I wasn't leaning on that front left flat tire. So huge shout out to BF Goodrich Tires. They literally ran that whole entire race on a flat and ended up here in second. So I had some carnage at the end and got a little lucky, but I like the way this weekend's heading. Third yesterday, second now, and I'm looking for that number 1 in the Cup race for sure. Yeah,
is this truck going to be ready for that Cup race? Because that is going to be a battle.
Yeah, a couple body panels of fresh BF Goodrich tires, and this Rockstar Energy South Point Walker Evans Racing Pro 4 I think is going to have a real shot at this thing. I was really happy with how good my truck was, and I only had 3 tires there in them.
All right, well, that's saying a lot. Second place here in the Pro 4. Congrats to RJ. Let's move over to third place. Wow. Again, a flat there at the beginning. You come back. I mean, really, that was a battle just through and through. What was your perspective throughout that race?
I don't know, man. I got pummeled a couple of times. Before the second start, I was in next to CJ, and Johnny smoked the side of me and put me into CJ. CJ's all pissed off. I'm trying to tell him it's his dad, and that was crazy. And then we went again, and Johnny spun out and collected a bunch of people, smashed my truck up pretty good. Still able to finish it off, though. Here we are on the podium, 50th anniversary. Everybody's going for it. These fans are crazy out here, and there's a lot of them. So we got to put on a show, and here we are. I can't thank my sponsors enough. Bill Sign Maxis, Hostile Wheels, my mom, dad, Joe Clark, my girlfriend that comes and supports me. Everybody, thank you guys so much.
Third place here in the Pro 4. How hungry does this make you, and how fired up does this make you as you head into the Crandon Cup?
Yeah, if anything could go wrong, it all happened in that race right there. So I think from here on out, we just got to stay clean. I try my best, but sometimes you don't have control. There's so many trucks going for it out here. I love the big field. And 3 flat tires and still on the podium. I was battling out with RJ. He had a flat, I had a flat, but I got to give it up to my guys for changing the tire. Actually, Carlson's crew helped me out changing the tire. Thank you guys, and thank all these fans for coming out here.
Yeah, the 50th anniversary, Jason. Anything can happen in racing, and that's what that race just showed us.
Yeah, it really came down to, Tina, who had the least amount of problems. Everybody had an issue, the flat tires alone, and somehow Anderson and Mittag were able to finish second and third. It started with the Land Rush, and the number 7 of Menzies. You see the white and black in the middle. That is Scott Douglas. He gets spun, goes into Menzies. Somehow LeDuc in the 99 able to survive, but that was it for Menzies and Douglas, 2 of the favorites.
That contact, just huge contact there, took Bryce out of the race, and then this. Mr. Greaves, Johnny pushing into Mittag, who pushed into CJ, and then they had to do the restart. Jerry Doherty with the jump. They went ahead and threw the green for the entire crew, and Doherty had a bit of an advantage, but watch Cheney from the orange coming across the field, but it was CJ in control right from the get-go, and a small mistake by RJ breaking traction collected him, and of course Johnny Greaves and Kyle all mixed up in that, gave CJ a little bit more running room.
Yeah, and it gave LeDuc an advantage. He made a couple of quick passes despite having the bad start selection. So there he was in 4th in that silver number 99. Then he quickly goes after Johnny Greaves and Anderson to try to get 2nd.
And Johnny saw him there. He opened up a little bit so there wouldn't be contact. He went out to the soft stuff, lost traction. Kyle's able to race forward. And then Kyle racing against RJ Anderson, who has, you heard and we talked about earlier, had that front left flat, hard to lean through turn 1. And Kyle just on the move, trying to back it in, make moves, move forward. And there was RJ losing that position to Johnny.
So on the restart, a bump from Kyle LeDuc, letting CJ know he's there. So it's what we wanted to see, East versus West, duking it out for the lead here in Pro 4-wheel drive. 2 totally different engineering philosophies behind the trucks, 2 different driving styles as well, and it came together literally in this fight for the lead.
This is exactly what we were looking for. LeDuc, Greaves, I mean, everybody battling towards the end, but we had these 3 trucks really stacked up and then added Mittag. But right here, this is exciting to see the different line usage. CJ going around the outside, using a bit of the apron, then Kyle comes in, hits into him, I believe snubbed the engine. I believe he stalled it in the contact there and wasn't able to get it restarted immediately. And hey, CJ Greaves kept it clean, ran it fast, ran it hard, but had an entirely whole truck at the finish line.
Yeah, and then you saw the battle of the trucks on flat tires. We had heard that RJ Anderson had a tire going down, so I was shocked to see that he was actually still in the battle for 2nd and was able to take it through the finish line in that fight with Mittag. So much talent just in this 4-wheel drive division, and then everyone you saw earlier in Pro 2 will be back later today as well. We'll have 3 rows off the start. The smaller horsepower 2-wheel drive trucks will take off first, the bigger power 2-wheel drive trucks second, and then the 4-wheel drive machines will start third. And it's a fight for the overall. They try to space that out based on lap time. So the goal is you could see 3 different spec trucks on the last lap going door to door for the Crandon Cup.
Yeah, I mean, the overload of what could happen
Yes.
thinking about in your brain is unbelievable. And then you start thinking about the 3 different lines of trucks going on a Land Rush start to turn number 1. Ooh! Wow.
There's nothing quite like the Cup race at Crandon. That'll be coming up later today.
To win the Cup race is a feeling like no other.
18 plus Pro 4s. There's over 20 some Pro 2s. I mean, at the end, the best of the best are going to be on that line, and it's going to be a race.
Nobody cares about 2nd or 3rd. I've been 2nd and nobody cares.
You come here and your name is on the big cup. Then you come back years later and you raise this young driver and he puts his name on the cup.
You're the king of short course. You just beat every single person out there in Pro 2 and in Pro 4.
Now it's a chance for them and a chance for us to see where we sit against each other and just to show each other what we really got.
Definitely want to get my picture on that wall in the boardroom again. Being the 50th would be awesome. You know, people are going to remember that. Who won the 50th?
Lining up next to all these guys, all the dudes from the West Coast are here. The entire field of Pro 4s from the West Coast is here.
This is the race, the 50th. We're not going to see another one again. So everybody here, all 60 drivers are going to be fighting for that one spot.
Sunday, when it comes time to line up on that line for the 50th, there's going to be some butterflies again. I haven't had that in a while.
I mean, your strategy's going to be crazy. I think you're going to go as hard as you possibly can. I think the fans are going to love it. And, you know, we'd love nothing more to get that win.
It's kind of all or nothing. You got to throw everything out there. You have to be spot on right when you show up.
All the best of the best is here. So we finally have a race where it can be a world championship. You know, it's always been named that, but is it really? Well, this weekend it is, for sure.
There's nothing bigger, nothing better, nothing faster in short course off-road racing than this. The Crandon World Cup will have it two-wheel drive machines versus four-wheel drive, the best of the best for one championship starting at 3 p.m. local time. Tune us in on Red Bull TV. For now, Jason Wygant speaking for Cameron Steele, Tina Dixon, and Kate Osborne. Thanks for watching. We will see you again 3 p.m. local time on Red Bull TV for what you could easily make the case will be the biggest race in the history of short course off-road.